Welcome to the line change. In this video, in the world of Canucks hockey, injuries are a part of the game. But this latest update brings a blend of silver linings and tough breaks that could change everything. This is a Canucks injury report, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So let's dive right in. We are going to be covering not one, but two articles. For this injury report, it involves three players. You guys probably already know who I'm talking about. But we're basically going to cover two players in one article, and the third player will be in a separate article. So let's go ahead and dive right into it. So, the first article, the headline, this is, of course, from Canucks Army. As always, I will leave the link to the article in the description down below for you to read along yourselves at your own pace. The article headline is Tocchet says Pettersson day-to-day, Höglander biting at the bit to play. So let's go ahead and look at this from Tyson Cole of Canucks Army. Posted technically yesterday. Yes, this is a day late. However, yesterday I had my first softball game of the season. For those of you that do not know, I play softball usually starting in the spring all the way through the summer. And yesterday technically, was our first game. So that's why I put out those two videos at the start of the day, and there was no new content for the remainder of the day as I had to go and play some softball. But let's move back to this article, as I mentioned, by Tyson Cole of Canucks Army, where it goes on to say, after returning home from their 6-game road trip, Vancouver Canucks head coach met with the media after Tuesday's practice and gave an update on the health status of Elias Pettersson and Niels Höglander. It goes on to quote Rick Tocchet, saying, upper body, I think it was in the corner on a battle, something like that. He skated, I think, once or twice. Didn't skate that hard. He had a little bit of discomfort. Now, obviously, he's referring to Pettersson in this. So they're saying upper body. That could still potentially be the oblique area, as that is my theory on what this injury is. I feel as though it's an oblique injury just from the way that Pettersson grimaced after that face-off. But Tocchet goes on to continue and was asked if he expects Pettersson to play soon. Yeah, I think I always expect that, but like I said, it's day-to-day. When a guy's day-to-day, you expect him to play, but I don't know with the discomfort level where it's going to go. The Canucks coach was unsure and shared that it was tough to predict whether if tomorrow was a playoff game, if Pettersson could suit up. And then Tocchet with an update on Höglander. Hoggy, this guy's biting at the bit. This guy wants to play so bad. He's got a red jersey, which is a good thing, but he's obviously no contact. Is he close? He's closer, I guess, than the other guys. But this guy wants to play so bad, so we got to be careful with that. Both players sustained injuries in a Saturday matinee game, against the New York Rangers. First game between former teammates JT Miller and Carson Soucy. Pettersson left the bench halfway through the second period. He would return for a couple shifts, but did not return for the third period. Höglander came as a bit more of a shock, as there were no signs of an injury, but he would also not rejoin his teammates for the third period. The two Swedes would be sent home for the final 5 games of the road trip, where the Canucks went 2-1-1 without them. This was unfortunate timing for both players, as they were 2 of the 3 hottest forwards on the roster. Pettersson was riding a 6-game point streak with 3 goals and 6 assists, for 9 points in those games, playing on Pettersson's wing for those games. Höglander had 1 goal and 5 assists during his 5-game point streak. The Canucks have 8 games remaining on the schedule before the conclusion of the regular season. Vancouver currently sits 6 points behind the St. Louis Blues. Make that 7 actually now, or no, 8 points after the St. Louis Blues won their 10th straight on Tuesday. For the final wildcard spot, it will be a big boost for the team if they are able to get one or both of the forwards back as they try to claw their way back into playoff contention. Now, obviously, this is positive news for the Vancouver Canucks when it comes to Elias Pettersson. He's day-to-day, so, we'll see. But hearing that Höglander is chomping at the bit to get back out there is obviously a positive sign. Once again, obviously, Rick Tocchet did not disclose what Höglander was suffering from. Clearly, it was severe enough for him to wear a red jersey at practice yesterday, which, for those of you that do not know, means no contact with said player. So the player is not to be bumped into the boards or have any contact made with him. Höglander also did not do line rushes during practice. But obviously, Pettersson not practicing is not a good sign. But apparently he has started skating, so there's progress there when it comes to Elias Pettersson. But let's move on to our second article and talk about this player. All right. So for this one, the article headline, once again, it is from Canucks Army. I will leave the link to the video in the description for this as well. Odds are likely stacked against Filip Chytil returning for the Canucks this season. This article was written by Dylan Nazareth, once again of Canucks Army. The bad news continues for the Vancouver Canucks on the injury front as they fight for the final wildcard spot in the West. Speaking to media today, technically yesterday, Canucks head coach Rick Tocchet said Filip Chytil has good days and bad days in his recovery from a concussion and is considered unlikely to return to Vancouver's lineup this season. Goes on to show a tweet from Harman Dial of The Athletic and from Canucks Conversation, basically saying the same thing that we just read there. Goes on to quote Rick Tocchet saying, good days and bad days he's had. Said Tocchet, you go and skate, felt good. The next day, not as good. So, to be honest with you guys, does he play this year? Maybe the odds are against it. Plus, you don't want to put a guy in that type of position. But when a guy has good days and bad days, obviously you're not going to play the guy. The 25-year-old Czech skater hasn't played since March 15th when he exited late during the third period of a 6-2 win over the Chicago Blackhawks after taking a bad hit from ex-Canuck Jason Dickinson. After the hit, he was very slow to get up and went straight to the locker room. He was then placed under concussion protocol and has been out since. Goes on to show a tweet from Canucks Army of the hit, basically a highlight of the hit and showing it once again. Everyone's already seen it, and I just want to say, after hearing that the potential for Chytil being out for the remainder of the season, I just want to give a good clap for the Department of Player Safety for doing absolutely nothing when in regards to this hit. Now, granted, Jason Dickinson, karma's you-know-what, as he himself is out for the rest of the season due to an injury. So, as I mentioned, karma's you know what. And honestly, not that I'm wishing injury upon a player, but that's definitely karma right there, in my opinion. The article continues to say, given his history of head trauma, the Canucks are being extra cautious with this still relatively young player. Keep in mind, Hedl is only 25 years old. Hedl previously missed the majority of the 23-24 season with the New York Rangers due to a concussion. When asked if the team has concerns about his career moving forward, Tocchet said they're just trying to stay positive and focus on the present. Goes on to quote Rick Tocchet, I don't know because I talked to him today and he said it was different than his last concussion, said the Canucks coach. The bad days aren't as bad, so that's a positive. So I think we've got to take the positive approach. Plus, he's got 4 or 5 months to rebuild himself, or who knows? You know what I mean. You just got to take it day by day with this guy right now. Hedl was acquired by the Canucks in late January as part of the blockbuster JT Miller trade with the Rangers. He played 15 games with the Canucks, registering 2 goals and 6 points before being sidelined. While the news of his unlikely return will come as a disappointment to Canucks fans, his health takes priority above all, and that's the approach Vancouver's medical staff is sticking to. So, that... Oh, hang on. There. So that is our Canucks injury report. So obviously some good news when it comes to Niels Höglander. Obviously, I would say a little bit of good when it comes to Elias Pettersson, a little bit of bad when it comes to Elias Pettersson, as I'm hearing he could be another week. And then obviously the news about Filip Chytil is devastating for him, coming to a new team, being traded to a new team, and only playing 15 games before, being sidelined with yet another concussion. Now, keep in mind, last year, they mentioned he was out for the majority of the 23-24 season. He only played 12 games in that season. And keep in mind, this is an 82-game schedule, and he played 12 because of a concussion. And we all knew when the trade happened that this guy was potentially one bad concussion away from his career being over at 25 years old. So I feel for the guy. I've always liked Hedl, even when he was with the Rangers. I remember a couple of seasons ago, he was absolutely tearing it up. I think actually it was when I was doing my fantasy hockey, I noticed he was on, I believe it was waivers, and I just saw him putting up points, went to go snag him, and I think it was a buddy of mine snagged him before I did. So I tried to get him in a trade, and he wanted too much for him, and I was just like, nah, you can keep him. But yeah. So yeah, that's going to do it for this injury report. So as I mentioned, some good news when it comes to Niels Höglander. Now, I don't think he will be ready to play tonight. I think that's a bit of a stretch, but I could potentially see Höglander back in the lineup, perhaps for the game on Saturday. Pettersson, as I mentioned, maybe about a week away. We'll see how it is. And then, obviously, Hedl most likely out for the remainder of the season, which is unfortunate. But that's going to do it for this video. Once again, if you would like to become a Patreon member and get exclusive perks, go ahead and join our Patreon. The link is in the video description down below. If you'd like to join our Discord chat, and be a part of the conversation. The link for that is in the description down below once as well. As you can see on the side there, you can find us on social media, on Instagram, X, Facebook, and TikTok. You can also listen and watch to this podcast on Spotify. So that's going to do it for me in this injury report video, and I'll see you guys later for our live stream.